Bonjour et bienvenue dans la salle de presse de la Commission européenne pour notre réunion de presse quotidienne. Merci également de nous suivre en ligne et en direct sur Europe by Satellite, aujourd'hui, septembre 17. Permettez-moi de commencer les annonces d'aujourd'hui avec l'agenda de la présidente von der Leyen. D'abord, aujourd'hui, comme je vous ai dit hier, la présidente est aujourd'hui à Athènes, où elle participera au sommet des pays européens du Sud. Depuis là-bas, elle participera également par vidéoconférence au Forum des grandes économies organisé par les États-Unis et spécifiquement le président Biden. Lundi, la présidente von der Leyen se rendra à New York pour participer à l'Assemblée générale des Nations unies. À cette occasion, comme chaque année, l'Union européenne continue ses activités d'engagement sur la scène internationale. La Commission et ses membres organisent et participent à de nombreux événements avec des dirigeants mondiaux en personne ou en ligne. Donc, en ce qui concerne le programme de la présidente à New York, je peux vous informer que lundi matin, la présidente participera à une table ronde de haut niveau sur le climat pour présenter l'engagement européen de réduire ses émissions de 55% d'ici à 2030 par rapport à 1990. Dans l'après-midi de lundi, toujours, la présidente rencontrera le secrétaire général des Nations Unies, Antonio Guterres, ensemble avec le président du Conseil européen, Charles Michel, et le haut représentant, Joseph Borrell. Mardi, la présidente participera à la session d'ouverture du débat de l'Assemblée générale, toujours ensemble avec les présidents du Conseil européen et le haut représentant. Je vous invite à consulter les communiqués de presse que nous avons publiés pour avoir plus de détails sur les activités des membres du collège pendant cette Assemblée générale à New York. Donc, revenons à Bruxelles. Mercredi, la présidente participera et présidera la réunion hebdomadaire du collège. Et enfin, samedi, elle participera à un événement à Paris organisé par l'organisation Global Citizen sous le thème A Recovery Plan for the World, donc un plan de relance pour le monde. Voilà, c'est tout pour l'agenda de la présidente pour la semaine prochaine. Maintenant, j'aimerais donner la parole à Verle, qui a des annonces concernant un préfinancement dans le cadre de notre Recovery Plan Next Generation EU. Verle.
Hello, everyone. The European Commission has today disbursed 231 million to Slovenia in pre-financing. This is equivalent to 13% of the country's grant allocation under the Recovery and Resilience Facility, as established in the Council implementing decision. The pre-financing payment will help kickstart the implementation of the crucial investment and reform measures outlined in Slovenia's Recovery and Resilience Plan. Including today's payments, the Commission has so far disbursed more than 49 billion to 13 member states in pre-financing. We expect to continue with the disbursements of pre-financing to other member states throughout the month of September.
Thank you very much, Verle. And now I can open the floor to take your questions. First, I look in the room. Yes, go ahead.
Oui, je voudrais savoir si on aura des annonces aujourd'hui sur ce que va dire la Commission européenne au sommet climat-énergie organisé par Joe Biden. Est-ce que la Commission va s'engager sur de nouvelles ambitions, de nouveaux objectifs, notamment sur le méthane ?
Merci beaucoup pour la question. Pour entendre ce que la Commission va proposer lors de cette réunion par vidéoconférence, tu devras attendre justement la vidéoconférence le moment venu. Donc, une fois que nos représentants parleront, nous allons rendre public le contenu ou des éléments de contenu en ce qui concerne leur participation là-bas. Donc, je n'ai pas d'annonce à te faire en ce moment, mais dans le courant de l'après-midi, tu auras des nouvelles, peut-être. Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions? So I go now online and I see that Beata has her hand raised. Beata, go ahead.
Hi, Beata Pomecka, Polish Radio. I have a question on Nord Stream 2 and a letter of more than 40 MEPs to the European Commission asking for an urgent investigation into possible market manipulation by Gazprom and potential violation of the EU competition rules. The supply is going a little bit down and prices going up, and there is a suspicion that Gazprom is just pressing Europe in order to have an agreement or the approval to launch the Nord Stream 2. Thanks.
Much, Beata. I will invite Ariana to provide you an answer.
Thank you, Dana, and thank you, Beata. What I can answer is the part of the question relating to the letter. Then it could be that Vivian wants to add some other remarks. On the letter, I can confirm that we have received it, and we will reply in due course. At this stage, I'm afraid there's nothing more I can add to the letter point in itself. I don't know if Vivian wants to.
Thank you very much. Are there any additional questions for Ariana now that she is on stage? I think that first Beata has a follow-up question, so go ahead, Beata.
Letter, but the question is whether the Commission has noticed such a manipulation by Gazprom, supplies going down, prices going up, and what is your assessment? What is your assessment? What are your comments?
As I said, we have just received the letter. We confirm receipt. We will reply in due course. And at this stage, there's really nothing else we can add to this, I'm afraid.
Thank you very much. I will first check if there are additional questions for Ariana on other competition-related issues. So please only keep your hands up if your question is about that. I see a few colleagues having their hands up, but I understand from the chat that they do not want to ask about this specific letter. So then I will thank Ariana and I will invite Vivian to provide elements of answers regarding the other part of the question, which regards the energy markets.
Thanks a lot, Dana, and good afternoon. Well, indeed, when it comes to Nord Stream first, so there you know our position. From the Commission side, it's not considered a project of common European interest, and the Commission's objective has always been that in order to ensure that Nord Stream 2, once built, it has to operate in a transparent and non-discriminatory way with the appropriate degree of regulatory oversight and in line with our applicable European law. For the next steps that you were asking about, there now we are in a position where Nord Stream 2 has to submit a request for certification to the German regulator before it can start any of its operations. Now, when it comes to the energy prices, then there, of course, the Commission is very much aware and observing and monitoring the situation in the member states when it comes to these hikes in the energy prices. I think you have to see there the different steps of that process. We have seen over the past year during the pandemic, the prices, electricity prices were at record lows. So from that point of view, it was to be expected that there would be some kind of increase. But now when we look at it, the high prices that have been observed, they're mainly the result of a combination of factors, largely driven by a significant increase in global gas demand due to the economic recovery, and also so indeed pointing out then to the fact that simply the price of gas is more expensive now than it has been over the past year. There has been, to a lesser extent, also an increase in the price of the CO2 quotas under the emission trading system. But from the Commission side, what we'd like to point out there is that first, of course, we are monitoring, we are seeing what the member states are doing, and this whole issue around the energy poverty is something which is hugely important for the Commission. And with that in mind, we've put forward also several of the proposals ever since the start of the Green Deal to make sure that once we move to the renewables, once we move to renovation in buildings and so on, this is something that aims to bring the energy bills down for the people, and that's what we are working on. And a final point, if you allow, is also to underline that throughout now this hike in prices, we also have to bear in mind that when it comes to the renewable energy, the renewables have been producing electricity at the lowest cost, and the cost of producing electricity from renewables has therefore remained stable. So I think from our side, it's another additional element to push for a fast green transition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vivian. I understand that Beata has an additional question on this topic because her hand is up. So, Beata, if that's the case, if it's a question on energy prices, then go ahead.
Sharing the concerns of the MEPs that there is a link between prices going up and the actions by Gazprom. And the second question, as we've mentioned Nord Stream 2, you've mentioned the procedure. So as the situation stands now, it's impossible to get the approval of the European Commission for the certification of Gazprom, right? Because there is a German regulator, but the decision must be made also by the European Commission. Thanks.
Thank you, Berthe. Indeed, the way, to start with the Nord Stream 2, the way the procedure works is that now Nord Stream 2 now needs to submit a request for certification with the German regulator. The German regulator would then be required to submit to the Commission its draft certification decision, requesting then the Commission's opinion as prescribed in our amended gas directive. So that's the procedure there. First the German regulator, then it comes to the Commission for the opinion. Because when the Commission receives that submission, we will have 2 months to react, and this is something that can further be extended, but okay, that's another procedural part. But basically, that's the steps now. We need what we need to see is first the submission to the German regulator, then to the Commission, and then we will take all the utmost considerations into concern there. When it comes to the prices, to the rise in the gas prices, I think there it's pointing to what Ariana said already earlier, that this is something which we have now received this letter. We are monitoring ourselves the situation, and we will analyze and certainly see what we can come up with there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vivian. At this stage, please only keep your hand up if you have a question for Vivian on the subject. I see that Christian Spielmann has a problem getting connected, but he kindly wrote his questions in the chat. Donc, il y a une question en français pour toi, Vivian, en ce qui concerne les réserves stratégiques des gaz des États membres. La question est si les réserves stratégiques des gaz sont à niveau.
Sur ce point de vue, sur ce point, Christian, c'est ce que je peux dire que pour le moment, les réserves stratégiques sont à 71% dans les pays membres. Voilà. Mais si je peux ajouter, pour avoir une comparaison, pendant les 10 dernières années, ce pourcentage avait été en général, en ce moment de temps, à 92%. Donc, nous voyons quand même une différence.
Okay, merci beaucoup, Vivian. Are there any additional questions for Vivian on this subject? That is not the case, so thank you very much, Vivian. Right, now we have Jasmine who wants to ask a question. It's good to hear you on the other side. Go ahead, Jasmine.
Hi, thank you, Dana. Thanks for the floor. It's my pleasure as well. So I would have 3 questions on the Trade and Technology Council, actually. So I guess for Johannes and Miriam. The first one would be just on the timeline. So basically, I hear that there will be also a second meeting, the first inaugural one on the 29th September, but then a second one on 30 September. Can you confirm that? And also, would the second meeting be around a specific topic? Could you give us a bit more detail on topics discussed there? Then secondly, there's a final agenda of the inaugural meeting expected to be published today. Can you also give us just an expectation when we can count with that agenda? And finally, we hear a lot of concerns from the member states that actually there will be topics discussed at the TTC that will be kind of a red line for some member states. So how will you make sure that the EU really speaks with a strong single voice? Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. I will invite Johannes, for example, could be Miriam as well, to provide an answer to this series of questions. Much as we can say at this stage, we're still more than a week before that meeting.
That is very much true. Thank you, Dana. That is very much true. Thank you, Dana. So indeed, the meeting of the principals in Pittsburgh is foreseen for the 29th. This is what we have already also published ourselves in a press statement, I believe last week. I cannot now confirm any additional meetings or that would run over into the next day or anything else. I can't do that at this stage. Also, as concerns topics in more detail, I think we cannot say much more at this stage. It's still some time to go until the 29th, and the preparations are in full swing. It's very important that this meeting takes place there. You remember that this is something that basically stems from the EU-US summit, but also was proposed by the President in our communication of last year already. So we're very much looking forward to this first meeting by the co-chairs. So from our side, the Commission side, the Executive Vice President Margrethe Vestager and Valdis Dombrovskis, and on the US side, Antony Blinken, Gina Raimondo, and Catherine Tai. And finally, your last question on member states' involvement. It's very important, of course, that the member states are involved. I mean, there's been a presentation to CORREPER by the co-chairs from the Commission, so by Executive Vice Presidents Vestager and Dombrovskis, but I cannot really say more at this stage. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Johannes. I think that JASMIN has a follow-up question. Go ahead, JASMIN.
Yeah, thanks a lot again for the floor. Just to be very precise, so there's no agenda coming from your side today about the inaugural meeting on the 29th September. And also the third question, basically, it was more, the question was more not on the involvement of member states, but on the red lines that would be defined ahead of the meeting, because as we know, member states don't directly take part in the meeting, but the Commission. So there's a whole negotiation or discussion about the mandate also in this negotiations. If you can give a bit more of a prospect on this one. Thank you.
No, I'm afraid I cannot go into any red lines of either member states or the Commission prior to these meetings. I think this is not the right format here to do that. And on the agenda, I also cannot say anything on this. I mean, we also usually don't have the habit of commenting of something that will eventually be published beforehand here in the press room. So I'm afraid I need to leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Johannes. Are there any additional questions for Johannes on this subject? On the Trade and Technology Council meeting. So please raise your hand only if you have questions about that. No hand raised. Any other questions for Johannes on his portfolios? Yes. Oh, it's not for him. Okay, so then thank you very much, Johannes, and we go to other questions. But first, I will need to take somebody who's been waiting online for a long time. Mihaela, go ahead, if you're still there. Mihaela, you will need to select your mic source because we cannot hear you for the moment. So then I will give you the floor, waiting for Mihaela to sort out her mic source.
Okay.
Gianluca Martucci, Total U Production, Italian Press New Agency. I will ask you, what are your views, what are the European Commission views on the approval of the reports of the European Parliament on the constitution of an ethic body that investigates on conflict of interests in the European Commission and in the Parliament? And if you will follow up with an initiative legislative, and if you will follow the indication of the European Parliament. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I will invite Christian to provide an answer.
Yes, thank you for your question. Well, as President von der Leyen has stated in her political guidelines, the Commission supports the creation of an interinstitutional ethics body dealing with ethical issues related to the members of all EU institutions from the outset. The EU institutions must meet the highest standards of independence and integrity. So that's important for us. The institutions, of course, as you know, serve the general interest of the European Union. So this is key to maintain the trust of European citizens. The Parliament's report is an important contribution to the ongoing discussions between all institutions. The Commission will assess it in depth and then decide about next steps. In order to make concrete progress in this file, it will be necessary to reach an agreement between all institutions on the scope, role, and competences of such an EU ethics body.
Thank you very much, Christian. Are there any additional questions for Christian on this or other matters? Catherine.
Dana, it's on other matters, so maybe I think there's another question, so I'll wait.
So then I will kindly ask you to wait, and I will get back to you very rapidly. So any other questions for Christian? That's not the case. Thank you, Christian. And then I go back to Mihaela, who has been trying to connect before. Mihaela, the floor is yours.
Salut, tu m'entends bien là?
Oui, ça va, on t'entend.
Allez, ça va. Alors, voilà, j'ai deux questions. Une, c'est concernant la visite de la présidente von der Leyen en Roumanie. Est-ce qu'on a une date pour ça déjà? Et la deuxième question, puisqu'on a beaucoup parlé des États-Unis dans ce briefing, a-t-on des nouvelles du côté américain concernant les voyages des Européens et est-ce qu'on va lever les restrictions Covid bientôt? Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Mihaela. Pour la première question, je veux te répondre moi-même en ce qui concerne l'agenda de la présidente von der Leyen. Donc, je peux te confirmer que nous sommes en train de finaliser l'évaluation du plan roumain des relances et que pourvu que nous concluons effectivement cette évaluation dans les jours à venir, ce qui est le plan, la présidente planifie une visite à Bucarest le 27 septembre. Donc c'est juste après la fin de la semaine que je viens de vous présenter en détail. C'est pour cela que je ne l'ai pas inclus dans les annonces. Donc la visite sera le 27 septembre, pourvu que l'analyse du plan soit finalisée, comme nous comptons faire. Pour la deuxième question, j'invite Adalbert pour te donner une réponse.
Merci Mihaela. Je n'ai pas de nouvelles à ce sujet. Comme tu le sais, sans aucun doute, les États-Unis interdisent toujours les voyages à partir de l'Union européenne, non les États-Unis. Nous restons en dialogue avec les États-Unis à ce sujet, mais par rapport aux déclarations que j'ai pu faire et les informations que j'ai pu partager auparavant, je n'ai pas de nouveaux éléments à partager aujourd'hui.
Ok, merci Adalbert. Y a-t-il d'autres questions pour Adalbert sur ça ou bien sur d'autres sujets que Adalbert couvre? Catherine, your hand is up, but I understand that your question is about something else. So, thank you very much, Adalbert. And indeed, Catherine, the floor is yours. Catherine, are you there? Playing
So
hide and seek
my
today.
question. Okay, so my question is about the special envoy for freedom of religion. I see that Manfred Weber has written to the president asking for or insisting on the appointment of a new special envoy for the freedom of religion, and that he says that it is urgently important to fill this post. I'm just wondering, can you give us any idea of how the former Commissioner Stylianides was selected for that post? What exactly were the criteria for, I don't know of any expertise he holds on this matter. And if you are considering this role, if it's not just sort of a job for the boys appointment, how do you go about it? Can you give us a bit of background about how you select somebody for that? And given that the religions that are really under attack are minority religions, not the predominant Christian religions, would there be a possibility of selecting somebody who is from another denomination for this role? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christian. Catherine, I will invite Christian on stage to provide you an answer.
Yes, Catherine, thanks for the question. Yes, indeed, as you've noticed, Christos Stylianides, who was serving as the envoy for religious freedom, was recently appointed the minister in the Greek government, so he has resigned his duties in this respect. I'm afraid it's not for me now to speculate about who could be the next person filling this important role. It is, of course, something that is an important matter for the Commission to stand up for religious freedom in the world, which is why we had already two such representatives, and under this Commission, the former Commissioner Stylianides took this post, which I think was also a sign that this is an important post to have a former Commissioner taking this engagement. But it's really not for me now to speculate about any decision of the college in this context. But you will have to stay tuned on this.
All right, thank you very much, Christian. Catherine has a follow-up question. Go ahead, Catherine.
Yeah, so I don't really, I think it would be, we were always talking about transparency, and it would be nice to see a job description for the role and some criteria. And the point that I made about the people who are usually the victims of discrimination or lack of religious freedom or minority religions, I mean, is this even taken into consideration when you're selecting somebody for this role? Thanks.
Again, Catherine, I think we're very well aware of the situation around the world on these important issues, and of course, it is mostly about minorities. But I mean, looking at different countries in the world, there are many different religions who are a minority, depending on the country, obviously. So again, I will not at this stage. I'm not able to speculate, or would also not want to speculate about this post. I can just reiterate that this is something that is important to the Commission, and that we will, of course, continue to pursue.
Thank you very much. Are there any additional questions for Christian on this subject today? I think that David wants to ask a question on this, so David, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Yes, Christian, the question was on criteria. We'd like to know what are the criteria to select this person. it's quite easy. Is the criteria the fact that it should be a white man from the EPP, Christian guy, Orthodox, I don't know. I mean, since there is a request by the EPP and all the representatives on the issue until now were from EPP, we would like to know what is the criteria. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. I think that Christian tried to provide you, in general, the framework and the what we are looking for in the suitability of a candidate. I wonder if there's more elements of detail to provide, but it would be suitable not to mix in the description of criteria party political comments that are never part of the criteria for choosing the suitability of a person for such a role.
Indeed, Anna, I agree. I don't have much to add. If we can find something more on the HR side, as this is a special advisor role, as I remember correctly, we can follow up with you bilaterally on this, but at this stage I have nothing more to add.
Indeed, we will look out for details. Are there any additional questions for Christian today? That's not the case, so thank you very much, Christian. I understand that certain colleagues, like Christian, has problems connecting. Et Christian, il a effectivement écrit une autre question dans notre chat. Donc, je vais lire la question de Christian qui concerne les plans de relance de la Hongrie et de la Pologne. Donc, Christian demande s'il y a de nouvelles sur le progrès que nous avons fait sur le plan de relance de la Hongrie et de la Pologne. Et pour cela, je vais inviter Verle pour vous donner l'état des lieux.
Bonjour Christian, merci pour ta question. Nous n'avons pas d'update à te fournir, donc la Commission poursuit toujours son évaluation à la fois du plan hongrois et du plan polonais pour la reprise et la résilience. Donc la Commission, nous avons l'intention de mener à bien cette évaluation aussi rapidement que possible. Et vous savez aussi que la Commission a proposé aux autorités hongroises de prolonger le délai d'évaluation et que les deux parties, donc la Commission et les autorités hongroises, travaillent de manière constructive en vue de conclure cette évaluation d'ici la fin septembre.
Merci beaucoup Verle. Y a-t-il d'autres questions pour Verle à ces sujets ou à d'autres sujets qu'elle couvre? Ça ne semble pas être le cas. Merci beaucoup, Verle. Je reviens vers une question qui a été posée de nouveau par chat. Donc, plusieurs journalistes n'ont pas pu se connecter. And I switch to English. The question from Jessica is on reports that Mark Rutte, so the Prime Minister of Netherlands, will offer UK an EU security defense deal at their meeting today. So Jessica is asking if this is true and what is the EU seeking? Peter, you're very prompt.
Thank you for the question. Well, the reporting is not true, actually. It doesn't reflect the reality for a number of reasons. I would maybe cite only one, that when it comes to any proposal for a framework for cooperation on foreign security or defense issues between the EU and UK, it would first need to be discussed and agreed among the member states. This was not the case, and why? Here I would recall the words of the High Representative Borrell yesterday at the press conference, when he stated that we had an interest in cooperating with the UK on security, defense and foreign policy issues. We are still having this interest, and we will be happy if UK would want to participate and cooperate on the issues related to foreign policy and defense and security issues. But it takes two to tango, and we on our side are prepared to dance.
That's a very nice ending before the weekend. Any other questions for Peter on this, on other subjects? I do not see any questions for Peter, so thank you very much, Peter. Are there any other questions for us today on any other subject? Look in the room, online. No other questions, so that concludes our midday briefing. Thank you very much for your participation. Have a very good weekend and see you next week.